We'll just wait.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I am good. So guys, I will like unmute yourself before we start the session. So we have Dan with us. If you have any questions regarding Salesforce, just ask Dan. He'll be there with us. I will just connect with the speaker once and then I'll come back. By then, unmute yourself, open up your cam so that he can remember you. And he's one of the best guy in our community.
Oh, does anybody know the topic for tonight?
Yeah, it's on AWS.
Oh, that was a good question.
Somebody knows. That's good. Well, you know, people are here for the content. They're not here for the free food.
Yeah, I mean, like, plus not the swags as well.
Yeah, no swag, no food, just AWS and Salesforce. Yeah, I've been seeing Salesforce promoting AWS more. So this will be a good session. Even when they're going to sell Salesforce, the sales reps, they're bringing AWS in as an option to use alongside Salesforce. So Kishore, do you remember some of these places in San Francisco when you were here?
Yes, I do remember. Dan, there is Sugandha over here. Can you make her a co-host?
Mm-hmm. I think you can do it now too.
Okay, I can do it.
Yeah, because I made you one.
No, I cannot.
Okay.
So as a preparation for this session, Dan, I was just going through the trail mix for AWS and Salesforce,
Mm-hmm.
just to get the feel of things of what AWS is, whereas most of us are more into Salesforce side of things rather than the AWS side of things. So would be good to see how the two things relate, because we know AWS provides its own compute storage stuff. Salesforce has its own cloud. How does two connect together is something which will be really interesting to know.
Thanks, guys. Good morning to everybody. So this is Kishore from Bangalore Salesforce Developer Group, and I've been there in this ecosystem from 2014, mid of 2014, and I've seen a couple of awesome speakers and awesome community members, and we have never hosted. So this group we have started in 2010. From there, we haven't done any of the virtual meetings due to this COVID. This is the second virtual meeting what we are doing. So I hope things goes on in near future, and then we will start meeting in person. For us, in-person meeting is like one of the best thing, because in in-person meeting we can talk to the speakers, we can do the networking is one of the best thing for Bangalore. Plus querying or having question answered by speakers, that is one of the best job for our Bangalore community. So there are a couple of folks whom I know in this community since 4+ years, and then there are a couple of folks who are very new to this ecosystem. I'm happy that you all have been in this ecosystem with us in Bangalore developers community. So thanks a lot. So first of all, thanks for taking your time and joining the session on Saturday morning. And I hope this session will have an amazing topic on AWS as well. So we have Sugandha, who has been with us since a couple of years. I mean, like, she started presenting in BLR DevX, and now it is her second presentation. So all the best, Sugandha, for this amazing presentation.
Okay, sure. So let me introduce myself. I'm Sugandha. I have like around 7+ years of experience. I'm currently working with Amazon India, and I'm a senior Salesforce developer there. Those are my Twitter handle and my LinkedIn profile link. And thank you so much, Kishore, for all the experience that you're giving me here, because it's great to connect with such a great community, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. So just to give a gist of how really today's session will be, I'm going to tell you guys about the basics of AWS, on how really what AWS is all about, what are the different services that we have in AWS, what are the things where AWS and Salesforce coexist. And at the end, I'll be giving a small demo, which I have prepared. And as you all know, that we have the low code love, which is going on. So this demo, which I have prepared, it does not include any kind of coding, but it's a really simple demo, because I wanted to understand that, and I know that and can I just have a quick show of hands of how many people are developers here and how many are like admins? Just if you guys can post like how many, so that I know that the ratio that we have of developers and admins here. Okay, so I think it's okay, guys. I think
more of developer.
Yeah, I think it's a mixed one. So I'm sure the demo which I'm giving should help both of them. Okay, so as a trend, we start with a forward-looking statement. And I'm sure you guys would have now literally learned it by heart. But as it says that this presentation, whatever is there in this presentation, you should not make purchasing decisions based on this. You should always go ahead with your own conscience to make the decisions. This is going to be the agenda for today. I'll be talking about the introduction to AWS, where I'll be making you guys understand what AWS is all about. I'm sure some of you know about it, but just to give a gist of things, I'll be telling you about AWS. Then I'll be telling you about what IAM users are and how do we interact with them. What is S3? There are a lot of people in this group, I'm sure, know about S3 and have integrated with S3. So I'm going to give a gist of that. We're going to talk about the serverless computing service, which is Lambda. And then at the end of it, we're going to talk about SES, which is simple emailing service. So in the particular slides, I have not put a lot of data because I wanted to give more of hands-on things so that you guys can understand what AWS is all about. So let's start with it. So AWS, the inception of AWS was in 2006, and it is one of the pioneers in IaaS. Also, if you see the trends of how literally their business is growing, it is just humongous. And these trends I've just taken till 2019, from 2014 to 19. But if you see the trends, and the trends tell us the success stories behind AWS. So on a very high level, what AWS in a gist will do is that it will just provide you on-demand cloud computing platforms where you can integrate using APIs. You can, have a lot of, so they provide a lot of console related information where even if you are not a developer, you can go there and from console, you can do a lot of self-service. So the whole model around AWS is of self-service where, and also they have an amazing community of developers and of support where you can just go and raise support for it. They are happy to help us. And also they have a lot of good releases. So, and also guys, to tell you the documentation that AWS provides is just amazing. So, so there'll be times when you really don't need any of the support systems there, but the documentation is good enough. So I would say that if you want to start your, just to understand how AWS works, the best thing to do is to have a free instance. And who doesn't like free instances? So as our Salesforce provides free instance, we have AWS also that provides a free instance. The only thing here is that you have to register with a credit card, but this is free for 12 months, post which the amount of services that you use, you will be charged on that. So it is more on the pay-as-you-go model. So do you guys understand the pay-as-you-go model? Have you guys do you know what pay-as-you-go model is? Let me just see if people are able to understand. Okay, cool. So I think a lot of people know what pay-as-you-go model is. So whatever you are, yeah, exactly. So whatever you are using, you only pay for it. So let's take, for example, let's take a very small example of renting a house. So today, if you're living in a rented house, and let's take, for example, that Kishore is not in his house right now and he was in his native place. So if he would have been living in a AWS ecosystem, he would not have paid the rent for 2 months because he was not in the house for 2 months. He wasn't using the services for 2 months. So that is how this whole system works. You will only pay for the services you use at the time. So let me quickly go firstly to the console on how really it looks. This is the place where you would go to create your free instance. And this is really a great place where it actually tells you that, the instance will always be free. And here you can filter from the different services, which tells you that, okay, you will have 5 GB of S3 service, you will have EC2 for 720 hours a month. So this gives you a holistic view of what really you can do with it. Okay, so just for my demo purpose, I've already created my account, and this is my dev account that you can see. On the console shows all the different services that is provided by AWS. Now, these services are basically segregated into different areas of computing, storage, blockchain, and analytics, and stuff like that. So now the whole thing, the first thing that comes into mind is, how do I give access to users, or how do I create users? So even if you have, so everything that I'm going to do here, I'll be correlating with Salesforce for all the services which are here. So let's say that you have, as admins, you are given a task to create users. Now, when you have to create users in Salesforce, they are given a particular profile, and you have to go to a and that's how you create users. Here in AWS, we create IAM. So these IAM users, what they do is, let me just show you how you basically create these IAM users. Yeah, so you can actually correlate your IAM user with the users you create in Salesforce. So let's take, for example, I get new user roles and I want to create a new user in my system because I am a root user. You will not, so a root user is someone who is a system admin. You would not be providing system admin access to everyone in the system. So just to add new users, it's a very friendly console where step by step, there are things that tell you how you can add your user. So let me just add new user. Now it asks you, do you want to give this user a programmatic access, or you want to give the console access as well? Now, because AWS provides us a great CLI, it's really important to understand and bifurcate between the kind of access you want to give to your users. It can be either programmatic or console. So let me try to give first the console access, where it will ask you to auto-generate this thing, and just give me a minute, I will just, yeah. And next is to add permissions. Okay, so now permissions, you can relate to all the profile permissions and everything that you have in your Salesforce. Whatever you can do in the system will be provided by these particular permissions. So permissions here are given a name as policies. So there are few policies which are already defined by AWS, which is like S3, or let me first just give a small S3 policy. So I have given this user a complete full access to S3. So whatever actions are being performed by this particular user, if it is related to S3, they will have access to S3. So you can have a correlation between this and Salesforce in a way that all the access that you give to a particular profile would be given here. Am I making sense, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your screen is completely blank. Are you sharing something? Yeah, now it's appearing.
Yeah, the internet is slow. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so this is so guys, it's little important to understand the IAM roles because this is like the foundation of AWS. If you don't understand how really your roles and policies work, it's really difficult to give the base and to use the securities which are given here by AWS. AWS is known for being super secure. There are HIPAA compliances and everything which they follow. So it's really important to understand how securities work here. So these are the policies which are given here. Now, in the policy, you can see that the policy says that S3 access. So like the complete S3 access is given here. Some of you might be thinking, what really is this ARN? So ARN is Amazon Resource Number. Every resource in AWS that you create basically would be characterized by an ARN. And this ARN will be used by the admins and it will be used in your CLI, it will be used in your API calls to know that, okay, we are making a call to this particular resource. So that's how AWS segregates all the resources that we have on basis of a ARN. So even the policies and everything that you make, everything will have one ARN associated with it. So here it says that the policy version is there. Then it also tells us about the permission, which I had already shown you. What you can do is you can attach extra permissions to it, which are there. And then the current permission says S3 full use, full bucket. Let's go to the Access Advisor. Now the Access Advisor tells us that if there are any new service names that you have created that you want to add these policies, or maybe you have created or edited any policies, you can always do this. So this is how a particular policy looks like in our system. Any questions here on policies? And also one thing, so while you also have an option of creating new policies, these policies, the ones that I have shown you, are the ones which are already existing in the system, but you always have an option of creating new policies. And the policies, so there is a policy generator which is given by AWS where you can create it. And this comes in a form of JSON. So here you can see it, and I think it's self-explanatory, which says that this is one version. The statement that it has is effect, allow, action S3 and resource star, which means allow everything over there, which is there, allow all the access to S3. This is what this particular policy means here. Okay.
Sugandha, so okay, so you want to take questions at last, or how is it?
Sure, I can. Like, I thought it's better to just ask in between as well, because for some people it's little new. So,
Okay,
so that
so there are questions. I'll just ask the questions. So what are exactly the policies? Policies are like permission profiles and permission sets in Salesforce.
Yeah, exactly. So your policies, you can take it up as you can take them as your permission set as well, because but basically your permission sets are something which gives you like extra permissions on the top of what you already have. But here your policies is something that you can do in the system. So you can take them as profiles that are there. That by a profile, you would know that, okay, I can basically go and have access to this particular object. So in the similar way, so it's not exactly same, but I'm just trying to have an analogy here so that I can make you guys understand what policies are. So policy, if you give a policy to something, it will just mean that this IAM user is able to perform this action. That is what a policy means. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on policies or ARNs?
Sugandha, Gaurav here. So, is there like a grouping of policy which we can do instead of, let's say,
Yes,
for example? Yeah.
yes. I was just going on that. So once you have added your users, you can see here there are groups which are given. So a group will, again, as Gaurav mentioned very well, that how you can do is that there might be times when I don't want to, individually provide different users, different policies. So what I can do is I can just create a simple sample group, which is, let me just say a sample group here. And this sample group, basically, you can attach any number of policies here. So let's take, for example, I'm attaching Alexa policy, then API gateway access policy. I'm attaching SES policy here. And I create this name. So this is a group which is already there. Now what can happen is that once I create these users, I can assign the users to the group. So assigning users to a group would simply mean giving them the particular access which they will have. So the way we have groups and public groups and everything in Salesforce, the similar way we have groups here, just that these groups here will have extended access. So by extended access, I mean that I don't have to individually go and assign users access. I can just go and assign users to a particular group and they will automatically get access to those, will automatically get those accesses. Okay. Okay, so let me go to one another important thing, which is roles here. Okay.
Sugandha, Asmit here. Just a question. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
You're audible.
just a question before you move to roles. The permissions which you mentioned in AWS is like a permission set license, right? In Salesforce. I mean, first we have to get the access of S3, then we can move ahead with profiles, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is like that. I mean, you
Oh.
cannot have like exact analogy there in between
Yeah.
both, but yeah, to somewhat you can understand it in that way, that if you need access to anything, you need to give permissions to it. And for permissions, you need to have policies.
Okay.
And these
Thank you.
policies are attached.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sugandha, can user be created without a policies also in AWS? Or
Yeah, so what would happen is that where they will ask you that you please attach one policy to it. Because what would happen is that attach any policy to it, what they will feel that, okay, I mean, a user without a policy, what is the need of that user? That user will not be doing anything in the system, right? So even for a programmatic access, you would need them to have some permission, something there, at least they can, so that they can do something in the system.
yeah, got it. I was just like in Salesforce, we can't create user without like profile, right? So I was just having analogy between both. That's
Guys, I mean, we will ask, the questions will be at the end of the moment. I mean, if we start asking questions, then it will be a Q&A session. Yeah, so we are running out of time. So we'll just start, we'll take Q&As at last.
Sure. Okay. Sure. So I was talking about IAM roles here. So I know it's a bit confusing, but just to start with it, the IAM, so a lot of times what happens is that you would want to give access from one account of AWS to another account. So let's take, for example, that I have created some kind of, so I have 3 different accounts in my company, and there are 3 different, which is not possible, but let's take, for example, that is there. And I want to integrate these accounts. So IAM roles is something which will come into picture where you can actually integrate or send or give permissions to one account so that it can interact with the other account. So again, your roles, you can again take them as permissions that are there. You need to create different roles. So a few of them are already created, which is like service role for support and your trusted advisor. It's like you grant access to support in Salesforce. In the similar way, this role is given where the support can get into your systems and see how things are. And again, the role will be an extended version where for an external entity or something, or let's take for example, for a mobile app, you want to give some access. So you want to create a role that, okay, this role is assigned to this IAM user, and for this IAM, this is the ARN. So you will give that ARN to that particular mobile app, that, okay, now because you have this access, you can access these particular things in the system. So that's how the whole role works. I'll quickly go to the next round, which is S3. Now, S3 is one of the very popular and very interesting service which is provided by AWS. And I'm sure a lot of us have also used S3 here in integrating with AWS. Firstly, what happens is that my S3, it's like a storage service. You can store or dump all your data, which is there from one system to another in S3. It can store any kind of things, be it your files, folders, documents, and any size of things it can store. And the best part is that the connectivity and the SLA that AWS provides is really high. It's like 99.999999 something, which means that there'll be very, very less chances when the services will be down. So this is S3 is best to do most of your backups and everything. I'll quickly show you how S3 looks like in the system. So we go to S3, and if any one of you actually saw, there are regions which are there in AWS. So the AWS has divided their whole globally into different regions, and these different regions have different availability zones. So the availability zones that are there you can relate to them as the data centers. So they have different data centers in different zones. So you can see that right now I am in the West 2 zone. From here you can see that there are different zones which are being given. There are few. There's one in Mumbai as well. So while you make these decisions of where you need to host your particular applications, you might want to see the zone that you want to, the region that you want to use here. So this is a console for S3. For the simplicity of time, I have just created a particular bucket which is there. Again, the bucket will also have an ARN which is present. Now, what would happen is that either I can directly upload my, I can click on upload and upload anything here, or they even have an option of basically doing using API. So the best thing about AWS is they have a lot of SDKs. They have APIs available where you can very easily integrate your or any other system. Again, because you're creating a bucket, you have to first see that what are permissions you need to give to this particular bucket. Permission set again.
Sugandha, 1 second. Guys, can you all mute? I request you all to mute, guys. There is overlapping. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, Sugandha, you can take up.
Yeah, sure. So as you can see the different tabs, we have tabs of properties, which tells us about different things that are there in your S3. Now, S3 stores everything in form of objects. So everything will come in S3 in form of objects here. Now, once I have created my bucket, I would also want to know that what permissions I need to give to this bucket, because you cannot allow anything outside to give basically, to have access to your S3. So the permissions and everything will tell you that, okay, what permissions you want to give to this particular bucket. Management here tells you and gives us a whole overview of things where analytics and matrices comes in picture, where you can actually see that how your S3 data is behaving. Apart from that, we have access points. Yeah, so I was just talking about the properties and the permissions that you can give. Also, S3 has points where you can call other services of AWS from S3. So let's take, for example, I have a particular scenario where I want to, kind of call few, maybe a Lambda service or something from S3. So the use case here says that as there is object which is inserted in S3, you call another service. So to do those kind of things, it's really simple to, kind of have those things here where you can give the properties of a particular bucket. Here, you can go to the events that are there and you can configure different events. So in events, it will tell you that, okay, let me just say I want to, just whenever there is a put request, I want to send this particular thing to an SNS topic, and I can just schedule that. So it's really easy, and it's really very nice how AWS has made its services, because each service can interact to each other as well. So in a whole, when you think about an architecture, you can really utilize all these services well. Again, here we have default level encryption, which is provided there. There are different logging mechanisms which are there. You can, as I already told, we can talk about the analytics which are provided, and we also have the access points. So access points will again be in a way that, you can create access points, and then these access points will be used by your CLI, or you can then, just using your SDKs, you can just create and you can hit these buckets. So using your REST API from Salesforce, you can again do this. So this is all about S3, and I will take your questions at the end of this session on S3. Let me go to the next, which is Lambda. So this is my favorite service, which is Lambda. And Lambda is, and I'm sure if you guys, if we have few Node.js developers or Python developers here, they would really love Lambda. Lambda is a serverless technology where what you can do is that you can run your functions on demand. So, and you don't have to worry about any of your, any of the infrastructure which is there, because all you do is you write a piece of code on Lambda and you schedule it to run on different things. So let me quickly go to Lambda and show you how really the console looks like. And here you can also, kind of have an analogy with Salesforce Evergreen, which is coming here, where Salesforce would also allow us to code in Node.js and Python, which is not on the which is outside Salesforce there. And in a similar way, what you can do is in Lambda, you can create functions. You can choose what you have to basically, work on, and you choose your own runtime environment. Look at the amount of different, supported languages that are there. So you can use your Java, you can use Node.js, you can use Python. I generally work on Python, so I have done most of my work around Python. And trust me, guys, it is really simple. So you can either create your function from scratch. Let me just create my test Python function. And again, as every service here needs an access or a permission, what you can do is, and this is where your roles and everything comes into picture. You create a role over there, which I already showed you, and you just, kind of attach those particular roles and permissions here to this Lambda function. And once it is attached, what it would do is that whatever permissions you've given to that particular role, they will get automatically attached to Lambda, and Lambda will be able to run on those permissions. So let's take, for example, you've given a role where you've said that have full access to S3, and I have attached that particular role to this Lambda. Now, when Lambda is running, what it would do is that I can, without having any other configurations, I can just go and do all my put or post or, delete any kind of thing from S3, because I've already given that particular permission to it. So this is how we kind of create my Lambda, this thing, and this is great for developers. Whenever you guys get time, please go and explore particular Lambda here. let me go to the next service, which is a simple emailing service. Now, can you guys tell me what is the limit of emails you can send in Salesforce in a day?
5,000.
Exactly. And how many of us have already, seen this kind of glitch where you have to send more than 5,000? Because 5,000 is a very small limit. There are so many use cases where you would want to, kind of send like really thousands and thousands of emails. To basically have a great of infrastructure where you have to send these emails, either you use Pardot, which is again a tool by Salesforce. You use Marketing Cloud again, which is a tool by Salesforce. Or what you can also do is you can use SES. Now, SES in a whole is basically a simple emailing service which lets you send your emails in bulk. You can have a connection with SES. You can either use APIs to connect your Salesforce with SES, or you can even through your console, you can set up few rules here. Now, let me quickly take you to the different parts of SES which are there. What you can do is that you can register your company's domain here with a verified domain. Let's take, for example, I'm registering a domain as, let's take test cell Amazon as my domain here, and I will verify this domain. Now, the whole process is something which I will not be able to do here, because for the verification of the domain, we have to add the DKIM records and all the records in my DNS as well. But this is how it is done. So once all these records are added in your DNS level, say SES would already keep on polling your DNS and would definitely come to know once you have added them there. And once that is done, your verification will be done here. Now, the obvious question that would come is, why do we need a verification here? So verification would definitely be needed so that the emails that you're sending, they don't go in spam. Because firstly, your SES needs to know where the emails are coming from. Secondly, your ISP, the ISP providers like Gmails and Yahoos of the world, they also need to know that this particular email is coming from a verified provider. So in that way, you have to verify the domain. Now, there are two ways of doing it. Either you verify a domain or you verify an email address. So I can also verify an email address here, where if I verify an email address, I'll be able to send emails on behalf of that email address. So the verification email has been sent. I will quickly check if, so it takes a bit of time to come, but yeah, this is how you basically do this verification of domains. Okay, let me go back to my system here and show you the power of SES. Now, let's take a very simple use case, an example where I want that all the emails that are coming from sugandha.atre@gmail.com, anything which is coming from here, I want to take few actions here. And what are the actions I would want to take? I would want to, have an S3 bucket, and whatever is coming from that particular system, I want to just go and put it in my S3 bucket. This is how simple it is. And then what I want to do is, so there is also another small, I would just take 5 minutes on this particular topic. So we have a KMS, which is Amazon's key management system. The key management system here helps us to basically encrypt and decrypt the messages. So because we live in the worlds of JP Morgan's and all the big investment banks, for example, and they are also using AWS. Now, for that level of security, for the level of security that investment bankers use, we would need a system which provides us encryption at the core. So for that particular thing, we have a system which is KMS here. And what you can do is that once you select KMS, all the encryption will be handled by KMS. and all your if you're putting anything in S3, all this will go as encrypted there. Again, this is just one of the examples. We can add any number of services here. You can add an SNS here. You can add a Lambda here. So we can have a way where whenever there is an email which is coming to SES, I would want to fire Lambda, and on Lambda I have like plethora of things that I can do. The invocation type, we can kind of give invocation type here. It can either be an event or it can be a request response as well. Now, the same question comes here, that do we have to really give access to SES as well? Yes. So you would have to give access to SES as well here, because if you don't give access to SES, it will not be able to do any of the further things which are there. So you have to give access to SES. This is the rule set that you have made, and voila, it is done. So just give me a minute. Yes. Oh yeah, right. So can anyone of you tell me why I'm getting this issue here? Could not write to bucket.
Maybe you're not having access to this, but
exactly. So I am, as my user does not have access to my S3 bucket, because the S3 bucket that I have created it for private use. So I do not, because my SES does not have access to S3 bucket, so I cannot really access it. Now to do that, what I have to do, I have to go back to my S3 bucket, and there I have to give permission to S3 bucket to basically allow SES. Once it allows SES, it will be able to solve it. So these are the kind of things that, guys, you get here. And these are the kind of things that you can basically explore around in AWS. As a last point here from the bucket of services that I have taken, I would want to talk about SNS. So SNS is a simple notification service. So how many times have you seen where you would want to notify a user if there is some simple email, there is a bounce in the email, or if you want to do some kind of a processing on the notification that you receive. So let's take a small use case here. What I want to do is that I have a simple use case where I am pushing my objects from Salesforce to S3. Once they come into S3, I am trying to process them, and depending on the processing, I would want to know if whenever there is an object, I want to fire Lambda there. So there are two ways of doing it. Either I can have a simple SNS, which is like a messaging system, where it keeps polling and it keeps listening to the messages. So if you have already set up an SNS, what it would do is you have to create basic topics here. So a topic would more be like a overall shell of SNS, and then this topic you can subscribe to different channels. So let me just create a test topic here. Now here what I do have is, I have, again, as said, most of the services in AWS will provide you encryption. So you can actually provide a server-side encryption, which helps you to just encrypt the data that you are sending. I have an option of providing the basic policy here. So you can see that this policy defines that only the owner of the topic can publish it, or let me take, for example, everyone can publish it. You can see the JSON, which is here. As I already explained, or the policies are defined in JSON format, and these JSONs will be then responsible for giving the particular permissions. And who can subscribe to this? Let me give this thing, the topic owner can subscribe to it, or let me give everyone can subscribe to it. Then I have a delivery retry mechanism here, where by default, it does like 3 retries every time in a minimum delay of 20 seconds. This is the default retry which is given by AWS here. I have an option of logging. So you can always log all these configurations that are coming here. You can log them in AWS, you can, Lambda, you can log them in SQS. And at the end of it, the thing comes that I have to give an IAM role. So now you can see that as each of my service is dependent on the role, how important it is to understand and have a particular role here. Okay, so let me create a topic here. So this is my test topic, which is being created. Now, if I want to subscribe this particular topic, now let me, and this is the ARN, which is being created. These are the particular separate protocols that you can subscribe to. Now the subscription, you can see, has different things like an email subscription, like a JSON subscription, like an AWS subscription. So all these protocol means that these services can basically read to these SNS. So if I have a Lambda can basically, if there is a Lambda process can, I can subscribe to a Lambda. So my SNS will read to Lambda. I can subscribe to an email. So whenever it's particular, so the way I will be getting it is that once this SNS fires, I'll get an email to it. And then I can give a endpoint for an email as my email address. Now, another thing which I want to just highlight here is a dead letter queue. Now let's take, for example, that there are a few bounces or there are a few messages which are not getting delivered. So what AWS provides it provides a dead letter queue. So what you can do that AWS will try for 840 minutes to send your particular, it will keep trying and trying and trying. And as we saw, it was like 3 tries which were there. Once it has tried for 3 times, we can actually have all of them in a dead letter queue so that you can later on process this dead letter queue and know that, okay, these are the messages which are not getting delivered. You can do a deep dive on it to understand why these messages are not getting delivered. So for this, we have a dead letter queue. Now let me just create a subscription here. Now, as I have created a subscription, what would happen is that I will get an email on my verification that I have created a subscription. I need to confirm it. Only once I confirm the subscription is when I will be receiving these particular emails of whatever topic I have subscribed to. So now once I have created a topic, I can subscribe to it and I can use any service to have that particular topic subscribed. So this is how simple our SNS has really been. And you can, basically you can explore all these things. Once you start working on AWS, you'll be able to know how you can explore all these services. Now, keeping in mind the time, I would want to take you guys to a small demo, which I have created, which is basically to, kind of put your objects from Salesforce to S3 bucket. And I'm sure the basic first, when you get this kind of a use case, the basic thing which comes in your mind first is, let's use a REST API. And that's the very basic thing to do. Now, what is the caveats in a REST API that you can see? Firstly, you'll have to, the tech depth, which is there. So there are a lot of things which are involved there. You need to, again, have a particular, you need to code over there. You need to have maintenance of the code over there. So basically your AWS works on a versioning of signatures and everything. So if there is a version change, again, you have to work on it in a different way. So in that ways, you will have to understand that there are few times where you would not want to, utilize a lot of code there, and you want to have like a low code mechanism there. So as AWS, Salesforce also has a low code thing, even AWS has a low code mechanism where you have something known as flows. So even AWS has flows here. You can create a very simple flow, and this simple flow actually creates a magic where you can just get all the data that you specify in a particular, in one of your objects to your S3, and which I'm going to show you will happen in minutes. So let's quickly create a small flow. this is an opportunity flow. Salesforce, I give the name of a flow. Then if there is any encryption I want to give, I can do that as well. Again, the same thing. I have to provide a KMS key as I mentioned, and or we can provide a default key as well here. Now, look at the amount of things you can integrate it with. Salesforce being one of them, you can integrate it with Slack, you can integrate it with Viva, you can integrate it with Google Analytics. So let me take Salesforce here, and you have to give the connection which is there. As I've already connected to my org, I can just connect it here, and so one thing that comes here is that you can either, have a event-based mechanism here that, okay, listen to these particular events and then configure this flow, or you can also select the kind of objects that are there. So let's take, for example, I am selecting opportunity. My destination that I am giving is S3. So S3 is my destination where I will give my bucket, which is there. I can, again, in buckets, you have an option of creating your prefixes, which are like folders. So you can give your prefixes here. Now what I want is I can either run this flow on demand or I can run it on schedule. So let's take, for example, I want to run it on demand. Next. Now comes the mapping. Now for the mapping of it, either you upload a file which has all the mapping, or what I can do is I can do map fields directly. When I do that, the mapping would be done on its own. Automatically, there'll be mapping which is done. The next part which comes here is validation, which is a really important part. Now, let's take, for example, I have some kind of a validation there where if my, let's take, for example, if my validation value is, let's take the value is missing, you just ignore the record. If the stage value is missing, you just ignore that particular record. So I can add these kind of validations also while I am, kind of running this particular flow. And so let me just remove it for right now because the data is not in the way it is. Again, once I have added the validation, I have an option of adding filters here. Now, filter conditions are exactly the same that I want to do. I want to, filter of what kind of data I want. Let's take, for example, I only want my, when my name is opportunity 1. So I can have these kind of filters in my system. So only the data which is matching this particular system will come, this particular filter will come here. I can quickly review it. What are things I have done, the flow triggers, I can review my map fields quickly, and I can do a create flow. And look at the time in which we created this particular flow. Let's go to run flow. And guys, it was like not even maybe 7 minutes, in which almost 5 minutes that we created this flow. Now the flow actually ran successfully. It will give you the data where it is, and you can see that my data resides in this particular bucket. When I go to the bucket, I can see the data over here.
Okay, so the one question. So if we have more than 50,000 record, which are filling the criteria, then what will happen?
So, sorry, if you have how many records?
More than 50,000, let's say a million, 10 million, whatever it is.
Yeah. So actually then that's where your, that would be dependent on the way it is handled from Salesforce. So here, this was because it was a demo work. I have just taken like very small amount of records, but let's take, for example, you might hit a bit of slack there if there are like, 50 million records and all, but I'm not very sure on this, that you would really hit a slack, because I have tried it with at least 50K records and it was working perfectly fine. So I think we can again see and try it with that many records, but because this is a flow which is taking all the data and AWS is taking it, so I'm sure there might be some delay in it, but there shouldn't be, because S3 does not have a particular limit on the amount of data it is storing. So it is just on Salesforce to basically give that amount of data, and because we are launching a flow here, so it should not be a problem. I think it should work.
So ultimately, we can get more than 50,000 records.
Yes.
So then I have a good question.
So where do you connect Salesforce org? Like, where do you give Salesforce credentials?
I did not hear you.
Where do you give Salesforce credentials?
Yeah. So basically, I think my org was already, kind of verified. But if you want to,
how we can connect Salesforce with
right. So for this, that's what I'm saying. For this particular app flow, what you can do is that they give you, let me just show it to you again, because my org was connected. So it did not really ask me to set the connection. But here, once you select Salesforce, it asks you to, create a new connection here. And once I have to create a new connection to the sandbox, that's where I will be giving my credentials. So let's take, for example, I'm giving some credentials here. Yeah. And that's how it will, first ask me. So this is my Office sandbox, so I would not be able to authorize it. But yeah, this, once you do an allow, it will be able to access the data from your Salesforce.
Sugandh, another quick question. Does this access of data from Salesforce count against the org API limits?
Yes, it would. Yes.
Okay. And then what is the benefit of using AWS for the backup, AWS S3 buckets for the backup over Heroku?
Yeah, so I think it's more about, I mean, that's a good question. I have seen that the way it is configured, because not a lot of times you don't really have to, like kind of code and do a lot of things in Heroku. You might have to do that. I haven't used Heroku much, but I have used S3. So backing up of data is little easier here. And that's where I feel that it depends on the personal choices also. And also what would happen is that if you have a backup of your data in S3, you can again then do a lot of massaging of data. So let's take, for example, you got all the data from Salesforce to S3. And if you want to have more massaging, and because there are few limits in the governor limits and everything around Salesforce. So if I want to just get, out of that, and that's where I said that my Lambda and all these things will come into picture. That when you have to do processing and all that on my outside Salesforce, I think AWS would give you will give a benefit of that.
Yeah, I think I should ask this question to someone neutral. you would support.
Hello guys,
AWS
just to put some inputs to the Heroku one. Heroku is also based on the AWS only, and I think Heroku is having some kind of Heroku Connect is available just to have a sync of data. Similarly, what the Sugandh has described here, they have connection with the some connection with the Salesforce, and they are just fetching as a they can schedule as well. The only concern I see is like, what is the possibility in case of any data sync issues, or what is the fallback method? I mean, we are syncing the data, right? So what are the best practices we can achieve here as compared to the Heroku? Because Heroku is as well, we can just keep a backup of data in whatever the database we can configure on the Heroku. A similar way what we have in S3 bucket here. So if you can throw lights on that one, that will be helpful, like a backup mechanism in case of failure or something.
Yeah, so
we can have a question on the last, that is really possible, not an issue.
Okay,
yeah, take up the questions at last.
Sure. So yeah, I think I'm my demo, guys, and we can go with the questions.
Sugandha, hi. There's one question. So, is this flow working as a polling? I mean, is it doing polling or is it a one-time activity? Can we do polling on the records? I mean, suppose I'm creating some sort of.
Yes, yes, you can schedule it as well. And if you remember, I've shown the events which are there. So again, it can do the polling as well, and you can do it a one time as well.
Guys, whoever is asking question, once the question has been asked, please mute yourself again.
I have a question over here. So if I want to use face, let's suppose recognition services from the AWS and in the Salesforce system, and if I have to go through S3 bucket and Lambda,
yeah,
will I have to pay extra for whatever services I'm using? And if not, then how can I directly connect with other services provided by AWS? Are there APIs and everything, and how the authentication works?
So just to reiterate, because your question completely, are you asking how, if I have to integrate with from Salesforce to S3 and then fire Lambda, how do we do that? Are you asking that?
Yes, and can I directly use other services from Salesforce, whatever services are there? If not, then can I use it through S3 and Lambda, and then the cost will be much higher, if I'm not wrong?
Right. Okay. So let me like break your questions in two parts. I think firstly you're asking if I can connect my Salesforce services to any other service in Lambda and how I can do it. So the first part is yes, you can do it because they provide firstly they provide SDKs for JavaScript. So you can let's take for example, you can have an LWC component where you're writing your JavaScript, and from the JavaScript you can make calls. So that is one way of doing it. Another way is, again, you can use your name you can the basic setting where you use your name credentials, you make basic HTTP callouts. So you can have like a button where on opportunity you have a button, and whatever I have done here using the flows, you can do the same thing using REST API. So those are the things you can obviously do. And every service here has APIs. So it is not restricted only to S3 or Lambda. Most of the services of AWS expose really good API support. So you can just, they have an API reference doc as well. I can publish it, post this on our account as well. And that's how you can, basically go and get you can just go and hit those services and get the data. So as a thumb rule, always remember that REST API is something which you can always use. That will always be possible to do. And to your second question, where you're saying that will there be more cost if you're using while you're going the route of S3 and Lambda? Yes, there will be cost only post your free tier is over. So if you remember, I showed you the first thing where I said that your free tier has some eligibility. So if your free tier is over, post that you will keep getting and you get a bill on monthly basis, and they also give you alarms where if you're kind of hitting some level, it will that's how you know that okay, you're hitting the threshold, so you might want to do some kind of optimizations there. So that's where you would want to do from, just because we were starting with this with AWS, I had taken the most popular services, but you have a lot of other services as well. You have Athena, you have EC2, which is also one of the popular services. So you can integrate using SDKs and APIs to a great extent from Salesforce here. Yeah.
Hi, Sugandha. This side is Viren. My question is regarding what is the difference between policies and roles?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people. Yeah, I understood, Viren. So basically, a lot of people would have this kind of an issue where they are not able to understand, what really your roles and policies are. But so you can think about a role as a collection of your policies. So basically, what would happen is that you can define. So if you give one policy to a person, let's take, for example, Viren has a policy attached to his IAM user who can go today and do, you can just go and access S3. But tomorrow I give a role to Viren, which I have created. With this role can actually have like, this role can basically have set of permissions. So he can go and have like, he can go and create an S3 bucket, or he can actually and if he is making a request from outside AWS from some other account, he can do that as well. So this is like, I know it's a bit confusing, but think of it in a way that every entity in your AWS will require a role for you to have. And these roles will also be assigned to the users as well. So you can assign these roles to a user, which will again be a group of your permissions that you're giving.
Got it. So under the policy, we can set our REST API access and other types of access. Am I right?
Yeah. Basically, I think the best way to think about it is that you will not give your roles to a particular user, but you will give roles to a particular entities. So let's take that you have created an S3 bucket. To an S3 bucket, you give a role that, okay, this S3 bucket should be accessed by these things. So that is a role which you have given to your entity. Now, policy is something which you as a user will have. So that is like a very basic difference that you can, think about when you are thinking of a role and a permission. Permissions will be given, your policies will be given to a user, whereas a role will be given to your entities.
Buckets.
Parents which you create.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Sugandha. One question there. So, do we have this? Do we need to enable connected app or anything in Salesforce for this, or we can check OAuth users in Salesforce?
So if you are using, so the basic method, if you're using like a REST API call and all those kind of things, you will need a connected app. You will need a name credential now and all these kind of things to set up. Yes, you will need all those things. But here, see, what a connected app basically does it gives the authorization to your other entities that, okay, this is the secret key, this is a consumer key, you use it in this way. And this is how you can use Salesforce. Now here, if you saw, I am manually going and giving my permission to the flow to go and access it. That's where I don't need, a connected app there. But
so if someone want to see, I mean, my admin or someone want to see how much usage we are consuming, or are we connecting? So is there I mean, if we can see in Salesforce, in OAuth users or somewhere, like AWS is connecting with, making connection with Salesforce on this particular basis, timely basis.
Yes, in the connected apps you can do. Yes.
Hey Sugandha.
Hi.
Yeah, my question was like, we have Trailhead to learn about Salesforce. What we have in AWS to learn in depth about these things?
Yeah, so as I said, you have a free tier and you have a lot of documentations around it. So the documentations, so it is not in a gamified way where which Trailhead gives us. And I think that's the power of Ohana that we have. But from AWS, they give us a lot of documentations. So I understand, because we are so much used to, going through Trailheads and going through the challenges and everything. But the documentation around these things is really good. So I think if you want to just start with reading few about documentations, and they have a lot of, so they have a whole series. I can, again, Kishore, I think we should post these resources on our channel. So
yeah, I think
I was looking for this video also of this.
Yeah.
Our whole session.
So this is again based, it will be like help.salesforce.com, more of not with Trailhead.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, we will share all the helpful resources, whoever has registered to this AWS. So we will share it only to them, whoever has been a part of this session as well.
Sugandha,
yeah, Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, Sugandha, this is just the last question I just wanted to ask. The app flow which you have launched is from S3 bucket, right? Or is it something like a new resource which you are using?
Yeah, so basically it's not in from S3 bucket. I launched it from the flows which is like another service which is given from AWS.
Oh,
So it's another service.
and we do require access to this service, right? We have to provide it in profiles.
By access, so when you have a free tier, you can see what all accesses and like what all things you have. But yes, at the end of it, you would require access to it to like. Of course, you will need to
And
have.
that would be from profiles, right? Which you mentioned earlier in the.
Yeah, roles which are there. Roles.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Sugandha, Hemant here.
Yeah, hi Hemant.
Mine is a bit of a functional question, like in what scenarios we can suggest to customers to go with AWS?
Sure. Sure, Hemant. That's a good question. So are we, so here, are we talking about integration with from Salesforce to AWS or are we just talking about AWS? I would want to know that first.
To Salesforce, I would like to know.
From Salesforce.
From Salesforce point of view, yeah.
Okay. So I think a very simple example that I can right away think about is, let's take for example that you want to send you want to create a minutes of meeting. Minutes of meeting is you have your customers. The customers have asked you that, okay, the requirement is that whenever our sales rep goes to another customer, they have to capture the minutes of meeting, and the minutes of meeting should basically be then sent to the seller. To the customer basically. So this is a very small requirement. If you think through it, you can do it using basic your flows or like a basic you can do LWC there, and you can just send emails. But look at the scale. If the scale increases, today if your customer is meeting, if the sales rep is meeting like 10 customers, and tomorrow if basically he goes and meets like 100 customers in a day, and to whom he is sending like 5 to 7 emails, look at the scale that we are going to hit. And that's where the condition comes that you will not be able to send emails from Salesforce. You will hit a snag over there. So a very simple use case will be just create an LWC component, or now that flows are also becoming really great there. So you can create a small flow there. You call your, make a controller, call your, from your flow, call that particular controller, and in the controller, make a call out to your SES. So then what it would do is that it would send only the emailing part of it will not be on Salesforce, and you will be just sending emails through your AWS. And that's a very and trust me, it's a very basic use case and something which we have also implemented. And this is something you might also get in your company. Yeah.
That is very helpful, Sugandha, and nice presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi Sugandha, can you can you send unlimited emails from AWS, and how much it will charge us for that?
Yeah. So it of course has some limit on it, but and it is I don't remember the exact charges which are there. I think I myself will have to Google in what all other charges, but yeah, I remember the like the attachment which is there. So you can send like 10 GB of attachment from SES. Now the use case that I was explaining, in that use case, if you try to send 10 GB from your Salesforce, basically, you might hit a lot of heap size limits over there. So you might want to, do those kind of things. So in SES, yes, you do have the limit which is there in your free tier to send emails, but I'm not very sure of the exact limit. I think in 24 hours, you have like a maximum of some million emails that you can send. And it depends on you, so you can keep increasing it. So my Office account basically has a limit of 4 million emails in 24 hours. So that's what I'm saying, that it has a support system in a way that you can ask for more emails. Of course, it's not going to be unlimited, but there is a limit which is going to be given to you for your particular account, that okay, today in 24 hours you can send like 1 million emails. Now when it goes and hits that, you will not be able to send it. So you have to again go and ask AWS to increase your limit size over there.
Okay, guys, I think so. We will start with question and answers. Probably you can. Sugandha has shared her Twitter ID and LinkedIn, and we will share all the presentations as well with the content, helpful content after the session, and recordings will be available after 1 week. So let us start with Q&A because we have not Q&A, I mean like trivia questions. So we have almost 165 participants over here. So this is just a trial again. This is completely new for us. So first question, when was AWS launched? I see Rahul Gupta, the first question. This is again a sample one.
2006.
Sorry?
It was in 2006.
Okay. The second question, again, this is a sample question, guys. I'm telling you clearly. Can we use Apex in Lambda? Okay, guys, we have Shantanu first. 1 second. We have Shantanu.
I think no.
Okay, it is correct.
Yeah.
The third question. This is again a sample question. The real question starts from fourth. Okay. So the third question, what is a query service? What is a query service from AWS? Okay, this is Pankaj. Pankaj, you want to answer?
Yeah, that the query service, I'm not sure about. I wanted to answer the previous question actually.
Okay. Okay, so anyone who want to take up the query service?
I say
Athena? SQL?
No.
Is it Athena?
Yes, yes, Abhi. So it is Athena. Okay. So guys, 1 second. So don't chat with me privately. Do it on public. Okay. So this is again, I am just putting a breaker. Okay, the real question. Sugandha, you're there?
Yeah, Kishore, I'm there.
Okay, so Sugandha will be the best person to gauge your answers based on Sugandha's input. So we will give this the certification voucher. The first question for certification voucher. Okay, yes, unmute yourself and then. Hello, unmute. Yeah, please ask the questions that were discussed. Yes, we are asking questions based on it. Okay, what are the different ways to integrate Salesforce with AWS and how do you save from tech debate of Apex? Okay. Who is the first one?
Sir, without completing the question, everyone is sending me.
Oh, really?
I saw Sunanda or Sunand, the first person.
Sunand, the first person.
Are you here? Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hello, yes.
Yeah, one is through REST API and another is through Amazon Flow.
I have, so my name is Sunad, so I have not answered yet. I think someone else is answering.
So take that answer and answer.
Yeah, you have
So
to
I would
complete
say-
the answer.
Yes, I'll answer. So we have various ways. We have the REST API for different services. We can use that. That is one option. We have the Amazon SDKs available, which we can use. And we have the S3 services. We can integrate with S3 and then use the Lambda and then use other services.
Sunand, how will you reduce the tech depth here if you are using SDKs as well?
Sorry?
How will you reduce the tech depth here if you are anyways using SDKs?
So we have flows, no code love, means we can use similar flows like we have in Salesforce. We can create a flow and then have the actions perform. So we can store the data, get the data.
How will Salesforce, AWS know that you have performed these actions?
We can have, how does AWS will know we have performed the, we can send actions. So here I would say AWS. We can do events, or we can use events, or you can use option was events or records. Sorry, the other option was like.
Okay. Sure, I
So-
think it's almost there. I mean.
Okay, so we have Vikram. Vikram, can you just answer?
I think we have logging mechanism where we can log the connection and all the sessions happening. Is it correct, Sunan?
Log. I'm sorry. Did you say that you want to log the sessions and then do it?
No. We can maintain the logs for whatever the happening, whatever the connections is happening for that one. So we can identify the details there and we can debug if required.
So if there are like 1,000 of your users who are logging, you will maintain a logging mechanism for thousands of them. And then you'll again keep querying if there is a log created for them or not. That would not be a...
Maybe tagging. Okay, fine. Got that. Fine, not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, so who was nearby?
So I think Sunad was almost there. Yeah, he was almost there. Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who wants to give the right answers? Okay, Swapnil.
Okay, so we can do it better on AWS. But as mentioned, we can use the event, Salesforce event, because AWS handles two ways, whether it can be communicated through the event or by directly using the name credential, and we can select the object on which we want to communicate with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, these are the two things. As well as mentioned, we can use that Lightning component, and we can use JavaScript in that, where we can directly hit the REST APIs.
Yeah, I think Kishore, he was much little closer.
And Kishore, just to add,
Okay, Asmat, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add, we can also use Salesforce Evergreen, which will come up in near future. So just
I mean, like it is again, it hasn't released yet. So
I think we can call REST API for the S3 bucket, and if we are uploading any data in S3 bucket, then we can put a event based on that. I mean, it will trigger an event in AWS, and in that way we can also invoke different service, or we can also store logs in AWS, like which all events are coming based on. I mean, S3 can invoke Lambda. So we can have S3 URL in Salesforce, which we can put in, our REST API or in the remote settings, and in that way we can do a post request on the S3.
Guys, here just one thing: how will you get over the course errors that you will get here? So from a Lightning component, if you're from an LWC component, if you're trying to use SDK.
So we can use that using the remote site settings. We can set the endpoint in the remote site settings, and it will be a trusted site. So it will not face that
But
same error.
get a course error, na? Because your S3 will not know that it is on the S3 side. So on the S3 side also you have to put it. Because
Yes, we are using that authentication using the name credential, right? So that the trusted site is already mentioned there.
Yeah, but S3 would not know about it. So even on the S3 side, you will have to put a course.
Yes, exactly.
We can have validation on S3.
Yes, guys.
We have validation mechanism on S3 also. What should we put?
Yeah, so there are course. You can put your
So what about adding a Lambda function to be added like a trigger or an alert?
Yeah, you can do that. But I mean, that's obviously possible. But the question here was, how would you integrate it? So to integrate even with Lambda, you will have to have like a platform event or something through a CDC, which is actually going and hitting your AWS. Because that's where Lambda would come to know, okay, there is there in Salesforce.
So if we, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we are using MuleSoft in between and based on some last modified date on the object which is present in S3, we'll be able to.
Yes. You will be able to, but then again, the MuleSoft will have to talk to, because again, MuleSoft is for that reason only. It has to talk. It's an integration layer in between. So definitely through MuleSoft, you can do it. Yeah.
Okay, so Sugandha, whom do you think is the right person who has grabbed this voucher, first voucher?
I think
Was it Sunand, Swapnil, Vikram?
Swapnil, both of them were quite close. I'm not sure how you're going to do that because even I mean, Sunand was the first one who said it, but Swapnil kind of explained it really well. So if you want to just take it in that way.
Okay, okay. I'll just check and then I'll check with the team over here. I'll just write both the names, Sunand and then Swapnil. Okay, the second question, guys. So probably you have another 2 more questions. So the second question starts like this. So how to allow sfdgblr.com to hit SES servers every time an email comes to it? Okay, we have 2 people. Okay, so yeah. Abhi, what do you think? Who should we give it?
Rahul Gupta, I saw the first person.
Rahul Gupta. Okay, cool. Rahul, can you just unmute yourself and then answer?
Yeah, so we can verify the email address and we can use that as a for hitting this to AWS servers. We can verify the email address this SFDC BLR has.
Okay, and how will SES know that it has to hit this server? Like what it has to do?
We need to create a push topic or a notification kind of thing.
We would not want to create a push topic over there.
No, SNS, kind of SNS, not push topic, but SNS.
But SNS will be on something that you do, right? You cannot just create an SNS. So it has to be on some action. SNS and all these things are on actions. So what would be the action here? And how would you
post or put kind of thing that you showed on the
and where that's the whole question. Where was
okay.
Okay, the second one goes to Virendra. Virendra?
Hello.
Yeah.
So as per my understanding, we need to verify our email with the help of SES. So after that, we can allow to get email for this particular domain. Am I right or on a wrong base? Sugandha, can you please confirm my understanding on that?
Your understanding is right that you are, kind of, you have to verify it. Otherwise, it will not know it has to hit it. But there can be a scenario where other email addresses and other domains are also verified on your SES. How will you make sure that only when BLR is there, then only few actions should happen?
Can I answer?
Yeah, Vikram, next is you.
Is it a subscription to the topics?
And how would you create subscription to the topic?
I am new to the AWS, so just to understand what you have mentioned, like we need to subscribe so that it will completely watch the event happening.
I also mentioned another thing there, so that's the.
So can I answer? I mean, we have DKIM over there. Based on that, we can enable only one set of domain.
No,
Bangalore.com.
That's not there. You can have 4 or 5 domains as well. DKIM has nothing to do with the domain verification. It is just a signature which is sent with your email saying to your ISPs that this is coming from a verified source. Else it goes to spam. So that's what.
So you want to take up with next one?
Can I answer?
Yeah, Harshita.
Okay, first time Harshita, you are. First time we got some girl who has been popping up and answering. So yeah, Harshita, go ahead.
So I'm thinking to use Lambda here. We can use Lambda to verify that.
Harshita, why would you want to code and use Lambda here? I mean, I'm just trying to understand. The only use case here is that if there is an email which comes to BLR, if there is an email which is coming to our group, we want to do more processing on it. So how would you do that? Like, how would SES know that, okay, this is an email from this, and now what next has to be done?
Okay, can I answer it again?
Sugandha, yeah, just connect.
Yeah, we have 1 second. This. We have Paul. Paul, how about you? You want to answer?
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, so what I wanted to say was you first create a subscription and in your current AWS account, then you choose the topic, and so the key thing what I wanted to say is subscription needs to be created.
Guys, where will you? That's what the whole point is. If you remember, I've shown you that you create a subscription, but I go to the subscription in SES. I've given lot. I've given lot of hints here.
So, can I answer
And
it?
also an endpoint needs to be created.
Hello, can I answer this?
Yeah, I think please. 1 second, guys. Asmit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to answer?
No, I was just confused with the. I was thinking if we can go with the app flow and then call the SES service. So,
okay, Tamil, you want to answer?
Yeah,
yes, can I create receipt rules?
Yeah.
Recipient rules?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was looking for that, guys.
Actually, this did not strike. Yeah, it got strike later. Yeah.
Guys, who was it? Was it Tamil Selvan?
Actually, I was about to tell that only.
But who answered?
I think Rahul. No, who answered this?
So Rahul answered this.
Okay.
Rahul. It was Rahul Kishore.
Yeah. So the one who got the first chance as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mentioned rule details, the second one.
Sugandha, meanwhile, he's checking. Can I ask simple question? What is SMTP? Yeah, so what is SMTP?
Sure. So SMTP servers are SMTP basically are your servers that are there. If you have worked on your networking or something, then you would know that how these how your SMTP servers are set up and how these communication guidelines, how to send one thing from another. So it's a mailing protocol, basically, simple mailing transfer protocol. If you know, in Salesforce, we have email relays which are set up. So email relay, what email relay does is that it just takes your email and gives it to another set of server for it to handle. So even AWS has that kind of a thing where you can actually, set up your, so you can set up email relay in Salesforce and then give all the relay, transfer it to SMTP server of AWS. So then your AWS will be responsible for sending the email and not your Salesforce servers. That's how your simple mailing protocol works.
Okay.
Sugandha, Vikram here again.
Yeah, Vikram.
Was that the answer? Earlier answer was related to the subscription filter policy, where we need to configure also. Okay, fine.
You have to configure the rule sets, so if you have the whole point is that there can be a number of email addresses, there can be a number of domains which are configured. But how do you know that, okay, on one particular email address only you have to do or send or do some action. So for that, you have to create a rule set for SES to understand that, okay, when this particular email address comes, you then go and, do this particular thing. So the SNS part and everything was correct, guys. And I think most of you answered that only. But I was just looking at how will you create an SNS, because SNS can be done in any way.
Hi, Sugandha, one question. Can we use only SES service on Amazon, not instead of using Lambda or anything?
Yeah, so SES can also be used directly because SES has APIs, David. So you can, again, directly call a SES, which is through your API. So if you have a system like Salesforce or any other system sitting in between, you can code and you can send a REST request over there to your SES, and then using the REST, you can send the emails.
Okay. So guys, 1 second. So I lost it. Who was the second winner?
This is Rahul.
Rahul, what is his full name?
Rahul Gupta.
Rahul Gupta, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third question, I got dropped off. I see there are questions a little complex. Guys, why it is complex? Because Bangalore is known for sharpest brainers, okay? So even from people coming from HQ, project managers or product managers or product owners, they say that Bangalore is known for best brains. So that is why questions are like bit, not even complex. I mean, like it is just above average, that's it. So the third question probably is, it is a scenario-based question. We need to fire a Lambda as soon as there is an opportunity which is inserted into Salesforce. How is it you are going to do it? Okay. I see so many me's. Abhilash, you're there?
Yeah. I'll give you a name. Wait.
I see Manish.
Manish, yes.
Yeah, open up and then you can answer.
First, we will create a flow wherein we can call the controller method, and from there we can call the Lambda service.
Sorry, you're a little low actually. I couldn't hear you, Manish. Sorry.
Okay. Am I audible now?
You're a bit low. Your voice is low.
Okay. Sorry. Am I audible now?
Shout your answer, man.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible, Manish.
So what I mentioned is like we can create a flow and then call the controller method, and from there we can call the Lambda service. Sorry, it is not in detail. I agree, but based on the demo, like this is what I can get it for now.
You're somewhat close, Manish. I would still want to.
Okay.
Can I answer? This is Kishore.
Kishore, please wait. We have Ankur. Can you answer?
Yes. So, like there is two ways. One way we can execute a.
Okay, you guys are in the same room.
Yeah, we can execute a flow. Or flow we can call the AWS service to get the data there, or we can invoke a platform event, and with the platform event we can execute that topic, and AWS will subscribe that topic and insert the data in S3 bucket, something like this.
Yeah, you're almost there. You don't really need SNS over here in between. Lambda listens to it itself.
Yeah. We can. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are going to give that to Ankur.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So yes, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks, Sugandha. We will just wind it up from here. So thanks a lot, guys. It has been very good session from Sugandha. I hope there are more girl participants, women in tech, in coming days for sessions. And then I see hardly like 15 to 30 people joining the session as women in tech. We have promised that, okay, in coming future, by 2021, by 2020, we will have more women in tech in Bangalore community. So I request you all to please promise yourself saying that, okay, you will support women in tech and then encourage them to speak out in community events, or even including Dreamforce as well. So this is one point I would like to say. And as Sugandha was here, so thanks a lot. And Dan, you want to take up and then say something, a few words?
Yeah. Do you want to look at the Twitter traffic?
Oh my God, you want to show it? Yeah. So I think we will announce Twitter as well.
Yeah, I can share. Let's see how we did. Can you see this?
Okay.
Is this the one, the Bangalore says hello, AWS?
Yes, it is 329.
That's pretty amazing. 329 tweets for a meetup. 85 tweets from Rahul. Oh man.
Nice.
Are you giving any prizes or anything?
Yeah, again, so I think Rahul has won one certification voucher. Probably we will give it to second. So original tweet, we will see it.
Most active.
Most active, again, it is Mewar Parth.
Parth Mewara.
Parth Mewara. Okay. So probably we will give that to Parth. This is the point, guys. So you attend, you win something for sure. If it is an in-person, you will win for sure a swag probably. But that is what, again, it is a virtual event. Parth, by any chance you are from Bangalore? I wanted to check on this.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'm from Bangalore.
Cool. So it was nice talking to you guys. Abhilash, you want to conclude?
So next time we'll have probably a tool or something so that we don't have to look into the chat window and do it. So we'll have a better way of doing the quiz.
Yeah.
But it was fair and it was all good. Yeah, so the session was really good, and it's much more important and satisfying to see a girl or woman take the lead. So I had promised that by 2020, in 2017, that we'll have 50% or more, but it's okay. We are trying at least. So if you are, you know, any girls or any women who wants to take up sessions, or yourself, like if you have a good topic to take up, we can have more, because we don't have to look for hotels or halls or anything. We just have to arrange the Zoom or whatever meeting virtually we can take up. So you can contact Kishore or myself, and we can take that forward. We can have as much different unique sessions as possible. So the lockdowns are all going to end soon. So this is the chance. You can sit at your home and take the session if you are not very comfortable in taking session in front of 200 people. So yeah, thank you so much. As always, 170. anything in Bangalore is 150 plus. So really nice.
Biggest in the world. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, and we didn't do much of the marketing or much of the tweets or anything. We just last 2 days or something, we just started saying that we have meetup and things like that. It's really
If you market too much, you won't be able to have everybody, because these softwares can't take too many people. So
yeah.
neither can the hotel.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey guys,
Yeah,
this is Vikram here from Pune. I usually attend most of the Pune meetings as well, but I try to attend, as this is a virtual one, I try to attend most of whatever you try to plan from Bangalore, because I think Bangalore is having fantastic crowd and multiple different sessions, and I would like to be in touch with you guys. Thank you.
Lovely, Vikram. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Guys, we have next session, which is on June 6th. That is again an integration topic with Apigee. So again, we have the speaker from Intel. He's been working there for a couple of months, started. So I request you all hit this RSVP button, and then please do click on join button once you see our Bangalore developers. Over there, whatever notification, whatever emails we put it out, you will get notification in your emails. So looking forward for this amazing event, which is on June 6th. Dan, I think you will be again the host for this. Let's see how things go. Again, it is 12 o'clock at US, so 12 a.m. Thanks a lot, Dan. For this amazing,
this was fun. Thank you.
Sugandha, can you please share your Twitter address? We can follow and get some.
It is in our handle, guys. So okay. It is in our handle. Yeah, you can just check it out. It is Sugandha.
Thank you, sir. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Namaste, Dan. Nice.
Namaste, Dan.
Namaste and good night.
Daniel, you want to conclude?
I can't wait to come back in person when this is all over.
And you have to say the crazy thing that you did not say.
Yeah, I still owe you that.
Oh, Numan is here.
Numan is here from not from Bangalore.
Not from Bangalore, from Canada.
Canada.
Nice
I'm
to
from
see you.
Australia as well.
From Australia.
Okay. I can zoom.
Sugandha, you're there?
Yeah, Kishore, I'm there.
Okay, how was your experience?
It was nice, Kishore. It was fun. I think we should have like a series of AWS now. I see a lot of people interested in it. We should have like a proper series now.
Absolutely,
Probably we will start one, I think.
So if you have something that in the end connects to Salesforce somehow, it
you
will
have
be
to do it.
It will be very good, and you will have much more participation and things like that from this group.
I will try to have more use cases around connecting it with Salesforce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sugandha, this is Vikram here again. Thanks for all the session. One quick question. What kind of opportunity you are seeing as a person, as you are having a knowledge in Salesforce as well as Amazon Web Services? So what do you see the future in this one?
Vikram, it's actually, if you are really targeting to be an architect, firstly, it's really a great plethora of opportunities there, because as an architect, you get like a holistic view of what you really can do with both these systems. As a developer as well, I feel I have, kind of, because I've used Python and all those things on Lambda. So that's where I feel it is great. But as an architect, I feel I have got my architect, I'm wearing my architect hat now. So I think that is how it just changes you when you work with different systems.
Yes.
Great. Because I've worked on some part of the Heroku where we have moved our few processes, heavy processes on the Heroku, and we are not yet tried with the Amazon stuff. But in future, I would like to see what could be the possibility to move any kind of changes or any kind of functionality. Maybe Evergreen, what Salesforce has already coming with in years or so. So, but just want to understand a personal side kind of opportunities mostly.
So I think
Thank you. I got the answer. Yeah.
Sure. I'll be more biased with AWS sometimes because I've been working on it. So Heroku is something I haven't worked on. So I think you might not get the exact answer from me. I'll be more biased towards AWS. That's why.
Yeah, fine. Not a problem. Thank you.
So I see girls over here as well in this chat or in this event right now. So girls or women in tech guys, so you want to talk up how it is, how was it, or any feedbacks? Feedbacks for everybody. I think you can drop us an email, or you want to put it out now, you can just put it out, no issues.
Who is Vivo 1716? That's an interesting name.
I think they get an award or a swag after the lockdown is over. I see. Okay, let me see some girl's name, probably leaving soon. Anisha. Yeah. You're there, Anisha? Yes, you want to talk up? Wow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so actually I was looking forward for the session, but due to some reasons I joined late to the session. So will the recordings be available?
Yes, it is. We will drop it out after 1 week.
That's great, because I was trying to learn AWS and I was trying to do something IoT with IoT in AWS, and now with Salesforce and IoT, Salesforce and AWS is something I'm really looking forward to learn.
So what do you do?
I am a software engineer. I work in Salesforce only.
Wow. Which
no,
location?
I don't work. No, sorry, I don't work at Salesforce. I work in Salesforce. I use Salesforce.
Which location?
Bangalore. I have attended our meetups. We have
cool.
met in person also.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, we'll just meet in person once everything is done.
Yeah, sure.
Akila. Hi. Okay, guys. That's it from my side. So we'll just close it up. Bye, guys. Bye.
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 Hey, Daniel, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone.